Hi guys, I'm making a college football record prediction, and this is part 1. Part 2 will be coming out tomorrow. So Florida beats Utah. They beat McNeese. They lose to Tennessee. Yeah, they lose to Tennessee. Then beat Charlotte. Beat Kentucky. Beat Vanderbilt. Beat South Carolina. Beat Georgia, the national champions. Then they beat Arkansas, lose to LSU, beat Missouri. They beat Florida State to go 10-2. And then Kansas beats Missouri State. They beat Illinois. They beat Nevada. They beat BYU and they lose to Texas. They beat UCF. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Iowa State. They lose to Texas Tech. Lose to Kansas State. And they beat Cincinnati. Then Kansas State beats SMO. And they beat Troy. They beat Missouri. They beat UCF. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat Texas Tech. They lose to TCU. They beat Houston. They lose to Texas. They lose to Baylor. They beat Kansas. They beat Iowa State. Then Oklahoma State beat Central Arkansas. And they beat Arizona State. Beat South Alabama. Beat Iowa State. Lose to Kansas State. Lose to Kansas. They beat West Virginia. They beat Cincinnati. They lose to Oklahoma. They beat UCF. They lose to Houston. They beat BYU to go 8-4. Then Oklahoma beats Arkansas State. Beat SMU. They beat Tulsa. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Iowa State. Lose to Texas. Beat UCF. Lose to Kansas. They beat Oklahoma State. Beat West Virginia. They beat BYU. They lose to TCU. And they go 9-3. Then Oregon beats Portland State. They lose to Texas Tech. They beat Hawaii. They beat Colorado. Beat Stanford. Beat Washington State. Beat Washington. They beat Washington State. Yeah, they beat Washington State. Then they beat Utah. Lose to California. Beat USC. Then they beat Arizona State. And they beat Oregon State to go 10-2. And they lose to California. Yeah. They go 10-2. And then Oregon State beats San Jose State. They beat UC Davis. They beat San Diego State. They beat Washington State. Beat Utah. Beat California. And they beat Utah. They beat California. They beat UCLA. They beat Arizona. They beat Colorado. They lose to Stanford, and they lose their first game of the whole season. And they beat Washington. They lose to Oregon. They go 10-2. And then then Stanford. So Stanford beats Hawaii. They beat USC. And they beat Sacramento State. They beat Arizona. They lose to Oregon. They beat Colorado. They beat UCLA. They beat Washington. Beat Washington State. Beat Oregon State. Beat California. Lose to Notre Dame. And then Miami beats Miami. Yeah, from Ohio. Then they lose to Texas A&M. Beat Bethune Cookman. Then beat Temple. Then beat Georgia Tech. Beat North Carolina. Lose to Clemson. Beat Virginia. Beat NC State. Beat Florida State. Beat Louisville. And then beat Boston College to go 10-2.